This video demonstrates the construction of a simple pleated face mask from Filti face mask material. Filti is a 3-layer composite with good filtration properties rated at MERV 16. Although Filti is a non-woven fabric, there is directionality indicated by the striations that follow the length of the bolt. You'll want to pay attention to this because it makes folding much easier in the horizontal direction than the vertical direction, so you might want to mark the top of each square as you cut it from the bolt. We start with a 7-inch square, and notice there is a back and a front. We're going to work with the back and fold 2 half-inch hems or pleats at the top and bottom. You have to press pretty hard to get this fabric to make a crease, but we want to make that secure enough so that we can transfer it over to the impulse sealer, where we're going to seal that at a fairly generous margin so we get a good pocket in that seam. And this is set on a setting of about 4.5 for a 300-watt sealer. And you'll notice in the close-up how the fabric aligns relative to the top bar. It's sticking out about 3/16 of an inch, and that gives us a good seal, giving us a generous pocket. Press gently. Run your finger over it a little bit to cool it before you try to pull it off, and you'll see that gives us a nice seam. We repeat the process with the other end of the fabric, and again we're making this seal along the 6.8-inch edge of the fabric. Now we're going to create some guide folds across the fabric which will be used for pleating. We first fold the top down to the half-inch seam, not all the way to the bottom, just to that seam, and make a nice crease that's going to remain for the pleating process. Now we fold both top and bottom edges right to that first crease and repeat the process of pressing creases at those folds. Again, these are just guides to our pleating process that's going to come next. The pleating takes place in the context of 2 3x6-inch cards that are taped together that we're going to use as a sandwich for the pleats once they're made. And you can see the folds are being used as a guide. First fold almost down to the first half-inch seam. Second pleat goes down about a half-inch from that. Third pleat using that top guide fold right down again about a half-inch clearance, and now we have our final mask shape. Press it to smooth it a little bit and then form a sandwich to secure the pleats in place for the rest of the process. And the total height of the mask is now 3 inches. There's a top and a bottom. We're going to remember which is the top and which is the front and which is the back of the mask. Now we insert a 5.5-inch nose wire with loops at the ends in the top pocket. Press that into the pocket. It may resist a little bit. Use a forceps or other tool to press it down, more or less centered in the pocket. Now we're ready to attach the elastics left and right. These are ear loop elastics, and they're 6.5 inches in length from 1/8-inch elastic. Length may vary according to the springiness and stretchiness of the elastic you use, but this works well for this design. Use the forceps or another tool to insert the elastic at least a half-inch into that pocket, and then grab the other end of the loop. Do the same thing with the other pocket on the same side. It's a little tricky sometimes to get it in there, but if you've made your pockets right, you won't have too much trouble inserting that, and it'll just stay with a little bit of friction while you complete the sealing process. Now we do the same thing on the other side. The next step is going to be to add rectangles on the back side, that is the side with the seams up of each end of the pleats. That's going to help our sealing process so we don't burn through the fabric. And these are just pieces of Filti mask material cut to a little less than 3 inches by 1/4 inch. And we turn the back side up and spread some glue stick on those just as a temporary hold for the process leading up to the fusion on the impulse sealer. So take each of those fabric rectangles and line it right at the very edge of the pleat, so that it extends from one end to the other. That's going to help us form a nice seal on that pleat. Same at the other side. And those should stay on for the next process, which is to align that pleated edge carefully on the impulse sealer such that we get a nice seal across the pleat. You'll see in the close-up how close that is. Press hard for this step. We pressed lightly before for the top and bottom seals, but you want to actually press the impulse sealer into the elastic so that they seal well. Now we do the same on the other side where we've placed that other rectangle. Again, line it up very carefully so that we get a good even seal close to the edge, and press down hard during the melting process. That forms a good seal on one side, but we also want to seal the other side and get the two sides melted together to form a good seal across the entire pleat. So we repeat the process on the same setting with the same alignment on the other side. And that's the end of the process. The mask is now complete. Remove it from the sandwich, and you'll want to look at it in its expanded form, which can be done by bending the nose wire and just pulling it out into a mask shape. It looks good. Test the elastics by pulling on them to make sure that they are secure and sealed to the mask itself. And that's it.